Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Speculating Disney Parks podcast. We were going to record a week or two ago, but we both got COVID, so that, excuse me, I'm sorry, that didn't happen. The symptoms are still lingering,
Yeah.
but I hope
So if
that's
you
good.
hear us a little stuffy, then you know why.
Yeah. So we'll try not to. We'll try to do good this evening. So this episode is kind of a fun one that we've been looking forward to for a while. One thing that Disney fans love to uh, talk about, like speculate, and rumors even get started from this, is what World Showcase Pavilion is next. Because we've already got 11 countries in there, and supposedly there's space for anywhere between five and eight more countries. Now, whether or not they would be able to pull off adding eight, I kind of doubt it, but five, yeah, I can kind of see that.
Yeah.
So we're going to go over, we won't do a screen share today, even though I don't really post a video of this, but we're going to go, excuse me, we're going to go over the we'll go over the countries that were once considered, and these are countries that actually were in the plans by Imagineers, but they fell through for some reason. Then we're going to go over four countries each for what we think should be added to the World Showcase Pavilion. Maybe not all of them at once, but it'd be cool to see them, stuff that has and has not been considered, or maybe stayed in rumor land.
Yeah, we'll speculate.
Exactly. That's what we do here. So, looking at the list of countries that were considered, but they obviously were not put in the World Showcase, we'll start. I have this in alphabetical order from a map I was attempting to create earlier from going off a list. Uh, Australia was one that was. It's really just been a rumor. Like Imagineers toyed with the idea, but it never really went far beyond that. There weren't any announcements. There weren't any government like works, but that could have been
Yeah.
a full pavilion.
Yeah, yeah. And looking at this list too, I do recognize a few that are recurring booths at some of the festivals around Epcot, such as the Food and Wine Festival. And Australia is one of those booths. So they do kind of already have some representation at Epcot in the World Showcase. Nowhere near enough to represent the diversity of Australia, that's for sure. Uh,
Right.
but I'm happy to hear that this one was once considered because I think there's a lot you could do with an Australian uh, pavilion.
It'd be the one place where maybe if, like, how we talked about whether or not the Finding Nemo musical show would survive the Indiana Jones and Encanto retheme of Dinoland USA, and Nemo's right there. Nemo takes place in Australia. If it needs a new home, build the Australia Pavilion because the Sydney Opera House is shown in the movie. I'm pretty sure. But
Yeah,
I mean, that would be a perfect place if you had to move it because it just didn't fit in with Encanto and Indiana Jones.
yeah. People still love Finding Nemo, like, and
I had
even though
no
it fits,
idea. Sorry.
even though it fits really well at the in the land, with the aquarium, of course.
Oh yeah, I forgot
Um,
about that.
if they wanted to do another attraction for Finding Nemo in an Australian pavilion, that could be sort of the reflection of the biodiversity in Australia. How many just crazy, deadly bugs and animals they have,
I
and I'm
was
sure
looking at
fish,
the, huh?
and I'm sure fish too.
Oh, oh, definitely with the Great Barrier Reef right there.
Yeah,
I was looking at the State Department travel warnings for some of these countries because I'm just curious about like where some of these countries rank, like in terms of like where they're at now with like which countries their rankings like that are currently in World Showcase versus once considered. And Australia is a one, and like looking at pictures of some of their wildlife, like I imagine for some people it's a four, do not travel. Don't get me wrong, I would love to go see Australia, but I am terrified of some of those wildlife photos,
Yeah,
especially the spiders. Hate spiders.
spider freaked me out.
But next on the list, Costa Rica. This is the only other North American country. I know it's part of Central America, but that's considered part of North America. Couldn't secure a sponsor, which is a common theme that we're going to see throughout the list. That I, yeah, the sponsorship issue was something that didn't really, you never really would think
Hmm.
of running into a problem with it, but I guess that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been to Costa Rica. I mean, I've never been to Australia either, but um, in terms of Central American representation World Showcase, um, I mean, there's nothing.
Right. I mean, Mexico is what you have, but there's some stuff further south as well that probably could use some representation.
Yeah.
Next, Denmark. This is an interesting one. It fell through when Lego backed out because there was going to be a Lego themed boat ride through many landmarks.
Oh my gosh.
That is got to be that was not on my World Showcase bingo card.
Yeah, definitely not.
All because of Lego.
Yeah, and I don't see this resurging at all either.
I don't either because when you go through and look, there's like five countries from Europe that are in the World Showcase. They have the most
Yeah.
representation of any continent, and that's like, I don't know that we need too many more European countries there. Like, well, let's go check out some other continents. But yeah, I mean, well, they could have done a cool ride with the Little Mermaid because that's, supposedly takes place in Denmark. So maybe, of course, then I guess
Yeah.
Voyage or Journey of the Little Mermaid, I am never gonna get it right as to which is which. I think it's Journey of the Little Mermaid. The ride, would that just be breaking down all the time in Denmark instead of
Journey Under the
Fantasyland or
Sea.
huh?
Journey Under the Sea.
Yeah, that ride.
I like that one.
It's a fun ride, definitely. But it would have been
Well,
interesting if, oh, sorry.
I was just saying it's relaxing.
It's a nice break from the from the Florida humidity. It's a fun queue too. All right, next we have uh Equatorial Africa. This was in a poster, and there's a couple other countries that were on this poster that we'll address them as they pop up. But
Yeah.
this was one of three countries that was considered for phase two of World Showcase, but plans fell through. And in this one, they uh they couldn't get any of the countries to, provide funding or anything for this pavilion. And some of the countries had high tensions with each other. And those countries, I had to pull up a map with the equator on it just so I could figure this out. It was Somalia, Kenya, Uganda, Dominican, or not Dominican, Democratic Republic of Congo. Sorry about that. Republic of the Congo and Gabon. Gabon? I hope I
Gabon.
pronounced that right. What?
Gabon.
Gabon. Okay. I apologize for mispronouncing that. But yeah, some of those, like I know Somalia is one that the US does not have good relations with, but it's kind of interesting that some of these other countries that they wanted to do a cluster of them instead of an individual one. And South Africa wanted to do a pavilion, but there was political tension at the time. So, and this would have been early 80s.
Yeah.
So the plans fell through.
I mean, we'll talk more about Kenya later, but I would be all for putting another African country in the World Showcase. I think it's considered almost a separate region in the Middle East and North Africa. You hear the MENA region, MENA.
Mm.
So that Morocco is there. You and a wonderful pavilion in its own right. Uh, but I think we need another African country outside of the MENA region.
I agree because I think they can do better than that little expedition outpost, whatever that's called. That was originally where this Equatorial Africa was planned for, but then they went with the
Is it?
outpost instead because they couldn't get funding from any of these countries or there was too much going on.
Yeah, no, it really does need some representation there, certainly. And people will say, well, what about Animal Kingdom? And you know, that's a good point, but I suppose that's more a celebration of, you know, the natural world, whereas the World Showcase is more a celebration of culture and people.
Exactly. I 100% agree with that because that's two completely different things that you're representing with that. Like, sure, they might have,
Yeah,
Asian cuisine in the Asia land of Animal Kingdom, but it's kind of different
still got
from,
China
the
and
China
Japan.
pavilion. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
So the next four on our list are probably don't need to spend too much time discussing why they don't have pavilions.
Uh,
Iran canceled due to the fall of the Shah, and given that they kind of hate the US, it kind of makes sense that they don't have a pavilion. Israel, this one was planned. This was in that poster as well, along with Equatorial Africa, but due to
mm,
rising tensions at the time, and I don't really know if they've ever come down, and there were safety concerns that it would be there were like Disney higher ups at Disney who were concerned that it would be a target for terrorist attacks, and that was one of the reasons that they canceled it.
I see. Okay.
And Russia, good luck trying to get that one in our lifetime. That one
Yeah,
was
not
canceled.
gonna happen.
Huh?
Yeah, not gonna happen anytime soon.
It would have been a really cool pavilion if Disney had owned Anastasia. That would have been a really cool meet and greet because that's a great movie. The culture and everything would have been really cool, but it's yeah, I don't really need to say much. You
And
all
why was
probably
it
already
canceled,
know.
Sam?
What?
And why was the pavilion idea shelved?
Oh, it was canceled due to the fall of the Soviet Union, and obviously the
Understand.
government was a mess, whatever government was there at the time, and there's probably no way after the fall of the Soviet Union that they just happened to have money for a pavilion at Epcot.
You're right. Yeah,
Would
the
have
first
been
the
nice.
first move of the new Russian government was not. Their minds weren't on creating a pavilion in the in Florida, USA.
Well, if a childless Disney millennial had taken over, they absolutely would have set aside funding
Okay.
for a Russian pavilion at Epcot.
Yeah, there were lots of childless Disney adults in Russia in the early '90s.
They just didn't make it to the
Didn't make it to
government,
the
I
promised
guess.
land.
Next, this one would have been pretty cool as well as the Spain Pavilion. It was in the poster along with Israel and Equatorial Africa, but they couldn't find a sponsor for the pavilion, so it was shelved.
Shame. Yeah, this is another one that they have a really good food and wine booth for. Spain. That's always one I have to go to during the festival. Um, but again, it's another European country. I don't see them bringing this back to life anytime soon.
When you look at a map of where the countries are that are currently in the World Showcase versus what was once considered, it's kind of funny when you look at it because, you have France, Germany, and Italy, which are all right next to each other. And then you've got a bunch of them around that were considered, like Spain, Denmark, and next on our list, Switzerland. Government couldn't come to an agreement on the pavilion. But that's just like, yeah, it's all right there. I'm kind of glad that started to they've talked about other countries outside of Europe because I mean, those pavilions would be amazing, but
Yeah.
let's
Oh my
spread the
God, Switzerland's
representation around.
such a beautiful country. Yeah. Um, This would have been a really cool pavilion to see for sure.
Mhm.
Same as we've been saying, there's no way that this is brought back um, in modern times, but that would have been a neat one to see visualized.
Oh, definitely. So next is the Philippines. This one was rejected because the Philippine First Lady rejected it due to the cost at the time of $9 million. Which, I mean, yeah, it can't be cheap, but I don't know.
You know,
That would have
yeah,
been that one would have like, you would have had, well, the Philippines is technically part of Asia, but that's like Polynesian, I believe. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but
yeah. I mean, it's like Southeast Asia.
an area that's not really represented in World Showcase. And that, I mean, I know
And you can,
there's, go ahead.
yeah, just considering the U.S.'s relationship with the Philippines, I think this one would still make a lot of sense.
Hmm.
uh, Seeing, and I mean, I think Filipinos would freaking love it.
I
Um,
agree.
and there's certainly a large Filipino population in the United States as well. Um, so yeah, I would love to see this. Very, very unique and very interesting, dynamic culture. My sister and her husband did some mission work in the Philippines, and they loved it, loved the food, So I think this would make a really neat world showcase. In terms of fitting any IP in there, I'm really not sure. I don't know if Filipinos have been the topic of a Disney IP ever.
Not that I can recall.
You know,
Only thing I can think of close to that region is Moana, but that's more Samoan, I believe.
okay. Um,
Oh, sorry.
but yeah, no, this would be a great one. I just think Epcot is so caught up with IP right now. You know, bringing Moana in and doing Guardians of the Galaxy. I think the next World Showcase Pavilion will want to feature some sort of established IP.
Now it's got me thinking about our speculating list, but
Got
so
two countries left too.
so next will be the
The UAE.
UAE. Yeah, yeah. That one was supposedly an original Epcot plan, but it was scrapped before it was announced, and I'm kind of curious as to why.
I would be really interested too. I don't know a whole lot about the United Arab Emirates, other than what Dubai.
Yeah, that's really about all I know as well.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I guess there could have been a cool Dubai. I mean, I know there's probably a lot with their culture that they certainly could have integrated, but
Yeah,
it's the UAE. All I think of is Dubai, Ferrari,
right.
skyscrapers.
So I would have been curious, yeah, to see like what was their vision for this pavilion because I mean, it sounded like it was supposed to be in the original Epcot plan, like you just said.
Right.
So
It would have
yeah,
been a cool way to show that the UAE is more than just Dubai.
yeah, yeah.
So I think that's probably what most people think of.
Honestly would be interested, of course, to see another Middle East or a Middle East country represented. Um, I think Morocco kind of covers some of that, but um, that's also got some Mediterranean and some African influence there too. So
Hmm.
I think they could really do something unique with an Agrabah pavilion.
There we go. Last on our list for once considered, Venezuela. This probably would have been a cool one, but I don't know if it would still be around now due to tensions between our government and their government. So,
It's just been so unfortunate the political instability in that country, man.
oh, definitely would have been cool, but don't know if it would still be here today.
Yeah.
So now we'll go over our We each have four different countries that we're going to speculate. And Porter, how about you go first?
Okay. I'm green, right?
Yeah, you're green on the list. I'm yellow.
Cool. So first country is India. This is another one that uh, is represented at the Food and Wine Festival, I believe, and maybe even Flower and Garden. I'm not totally positive, but it's represented in at least one of the Epcot festivals. Um, I think this is a top contender, especially considering India's growing influence in the world. I think it would go a long way in terms of building that relationship with India. You know, kind of that cultural relationship that comes with having a pavilion in the World Showcase.
Hmm.
Uh, an incredibly diverse country, delicious food. I can't tell you how many times in a week I eat Indian food. Uh, so I think this would be a banger of a World Showcase edition. You could have a Jungle Book IP here, which I think people would love.
I was just gonna say that.
I wonder what that attraction would look like, to be honest.
I feel like it would be a dark ride, and it would probably be like it would almost be like a boat ride or something, I think, because I know there's part of the song where part of Bare Necessities when it might be the end of the song when they're floating on the river.
I would love to see like a dinosaur-esque ride for Jungle.
That would be something.
Instead of being in a cart, you're riding upon an elephant or something in that parade. What's that?
Colonel Hathie's March.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's
Really.
just like rocking side to side like the elephants do. You thought car you thought Cosmic Rewind gives you motion sickness, just that rocking back and forth for 5 minutes.
Exactly. And you're being chased by Shere Khan. Or
Uh,
wait, no, not Shere
no,
Khan.
you're right.
Yeah. Oh, it's Shere Khan,
Yeah, it's Shere Khan.
the antagonist.
Yeah, he's the tiger. Bagheera is the panther.
That's right.
No, but I could see it as like a dark ride, like with all this. Well, I guess there aren't that many songs. There are a few songs. I mean, Bare Necessities is one of the greatest Disney songs of all time, and I Want to Be Like You is fun, but
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, like bringing Hinduism and even Buddhism to light here. Like,
definitely.
you've got some of the Buddhist influence in China, but I feel like it's a bit different in India how it's served.
It's
Um,
it varies
yeah.
based on region, yeah.
So I this would be a top three contender for me if I were to pick out the next World Showcase Pavilion. India would be right.
Did you know? I just thought about this cool fact about the Jungle Book. You know the vultures that
Yeah,
sing That's What Friends Are For. Did you know they were originally supposed to be voiced by the Beatles?
really.
But John Lennon supposedly hated the idea, so they didn't do it. But that's why they have Liverpool accents. And it's like, could you imagine if there was a Disney movie with all four Beatles? Because that movie came out in 1967. That would have been after the Beatles stopped doing concerts, but they were still just releasing absolute bangers.
Just hit after hit after hit.
I mean, that would have been like right in, yeah, it still would have been in their prime. Like that was a couple years before Abbey Road. I think that was around the time of the White Album. Could have been right before. But still, just imagine the Beatles in a Disney movie and then potentially on a Disney ride if they were allowed to use their voices. I mean, that would have been incredible.
That would have been a major win.
Oh, yeah. So I'll go next
Yeah.
with
Anything else about India?
I know the like you said, I know the food would be really popular because a lot of people love Indian food, so
Oh my gosh.
I
Yeah.
have a feeling those restaurants could turn into the next Be Our Guest and Sci-Fi Diner where you got to wait 6 months to get a reservation.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be
Yeah.
shocked because people love that
Absolutely.
food.
Absolutely. And you could have like even the Indian architecture would be such a standout. in the World Showcase. You could it would be just as easily identifiable as looking across and seeing Mexico or China
I could
or even Italy.
I could see them doing like a I could almost see them doing like a scale Taj Mahal, unless there's a reason why it's sacred and they wouldn't recreate it. But
Oh yeah, good point.
I feel like that would be a way to like an easily identifiable landmark.
Yeah, I know the this well, I don't know. There's probably other architectural pieces represented at the World Showcase that have a troubled construction, but I know that the Taj Mahal has a very troubled construction past.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, neither here. Why
So
don't you?
so my first country is going to be one that's rumored quite a bit. Is and there is some IP tied with it, is Brazil. Brazil is one that most people seem to say it's all but confirmed. And like I don't recall hearing anything from Disney about this. Like a lot of these like, theme park news websites all seem to be posting about it, but
Yeah,
nothing
I
confirmed
I
yet.
don't know where it's coming from either.
But I believe that's where Walt traveled to, or yeah, that was part of his
Mm,
expedition he went on in the early 40s.
yep.
He went through Brazil and they show Rio de Janeiro in Saludos Amigos, which was, yeah, that one was right. I think that one came before Three Caballeros, but yeah, that was Rio. Rio de Janeiro was a big one. I believe that's where the song Blame It on the Samba took place. But there's a little bit of Disney history with that one as well, or Disney IP. But it's
Yeah.
another one that like the dining could be really cool as well. And it's
Oh,
South
yeah.
American country. South America currently doesn't really have much representation. I mean, they might have a little bit in Animal Kingdom. Nothing comes to mind. But well, of course, they're looking at it with a
Yeah.
but
That's my main argument against having Brazil well, I wouldn't call it an argument, but I don't think they would build a South American area and do a Brazilian pavilion at the same in the same instance. You know,
so you think like if they were, it would be more spaced out.
yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
And didn't because there's part of the Jungle Cruise is supposed to take place in the Amazon, right?
I believe so. You're a bigger fan of that ride than I am. You should know
I
this.
think part of it goes through the Amazon, yeah.
Okay, I mean that makes sense.
So, but again, that's like a more of a natural thing, whereas Epcot's more focused on the culture, the people. Um,
It's a little more fictional as well on the Jungle Cruise. If
yeah,
Jungle
yeah.
Cruise is
Also,
your only
also that's
representation,
not the Amazon River.
right? I don't know, something with like the Amazon River could be interesting. Uh, like that would be a cool dark ride as well.
Yeah,
Like with animatronic, because that's another country with animals along the Amazon that some of them are just look absolutely terrifying. Probably
yeah,
wouldn't want the real ones on the ride, but that'd be another cool one, like the history of or the nature of Brazil and the Amazon.
yeah. Well, I could see them doing like kind of what they have in China and Canada, this like circle vision type thing. Like I could see them doing that as
Oh
like an
yeah.
attraction, kind of like what you're talking about, like along the Amazon and just through like different parts there.
It'd be interesting if they did a deforestation like programs. I know a lot of it happens in South America, Brazil especially,
Yeah,
but something that could almost complement what's in the land along with Rafiki's Planet Watch. I'm pretty sure maybe it's not there anymore, but there was stuff about deforestation in Rafiki's Planet Watch, at least when I was a kid. But that was a long time ago.
yeah, okay, yeah. I've never, it's still never been there.
We'll go next time.
Okay. All right. Anything else for Brazil? I feel like the big restaurant here would have to be a Brazilian steakhouse.
I could see that.
Like the big table service restaurant in a Brazilian pavilion would have to be
Mhm.
Brazilian steakhouse.
I just thought about something else that I could see being mentioned in the Circle Vision movie if it was about all of Brazil. I know soccer is huge there.
Oh,
Very big, like football is for us. Like that would be, it would be kind of interesting if they had something on that as well.
yeah, yeah. I guarantee you the gift shops would have like soccer jerseys
Oh yeah.
and probably soccer balls for sale too.
Wouldn't that be something if the World Showcase just, I don't know if they do, but got super into it, into the World Cup once Brazil's added.
Right.
That's all I have for the Brazil pavilion.
All right. I'll move on to Kenya. And we mentioned earlier that we were going to talk about Kenya. I would like to, because I think it is a possibility. But my only hesitation is, and again, this flies in the face of my earlier argument, but I believe the Africa portion in Animal Kingdom is based off of Kenya, or a town in Kenya, at least. Um, so I wonder if the Imagineering and the construction of the Kenya Pavilion would be limited in their ability to diversify themselves from what's already in, at an Epcot.
So, according to touringplans.com, Africa represents the most urban environment in the animal kingdom, inspired by an island town called Lamu off the coast of Kenya. The Swahili style
Oh,
structures represent a village that has learned to benefit by conserving nearby natural resources and become a tourist destination. Okay. So, yeah, there is Kenyan influence in there, certainly.
yeah. I don't know enough about Kenya, so I don't want to try and sound too knowledgeable about it. But um, I wonder if just Disney would run into that problem themselves. I would still love to see a Kenya pavilion. I think that'd be great.
Hmm.
Um, because I feel like they could go a longer way digging more into the culture of the people, um, and their food and art and things like that in an Epcot world. But do I think they actually do one? No, I don't think.
It would be cool if they did, because that part of Africa is one that, we kind of talked about earlier with equatorial Africa, but an area that is unrepresented that would be interesting if they had that. But now that you mention it Africa and Animal Kingdom, maybe
Right.
unlikely.
I just well, I don't know how much of a representation that is of all of Kenya. Like does a Kenyan come here and look like and say like, yeah, this is a Disneyfied version of what Kenya looks like most of
It will be interesting to learn.
the time. Yeah.
Is that
Maybe
all?
we'll look that up. Maybe there's a vlog of a Kenyan in Animal Kingdom.
Could be. Um, is that all you have for the Kenya Pavilion?
Yeah.
So next on my list, and this area is considered part of the Middle East, is Egypt. Egypt is I know it's a lot of culture there that could certainly be represented in the World Showcase. Obviously, lots of history with, pharaohs and, obvious, it goes back thousands of years, like papyrus, paper and everything was invented there. Now I'm just quoting World. Now I'm just quoting what's it called? Spaceship Earth, but
Oh,
yeah, that just came to mind. But anyways, I mean, there is a lot that they could do with it as well. I don't think they'd really do anything Aladdin with it, but the history of India would be a really cool show. And if they were to do a water ride, they could do something with the Nile River.
yeah. Oh, yeah. No, there would be so much that they could do with an Egypt pavilion, and I honestly like just selfishly would love to see it in Egyptian pavilion. like, just using some of that ancient Egyptian influence there, but also showcase how, you know, modernity has spread in Egypt and how they've built things and towns and live among all these amazing ancient, places, sites. And again, the food would be amazing.
I would that fit under Mediterranean as well, since it's right down on the Mediterranean Sea, or
I think Egypt does still have some Mediterranean influence there, yeah, but maybe not so much as Morocco.
okay. So that's all I have for Egypt. If you want to do your next one.
Yeah. All right. So my next one, we're sticking with Africa, and this one would be in my top three too. Not selfishly, just like if they were to build another pavilion, I think they would build. I think they would strongly consider Nigeria, um, just because of their rising prominence in the region, and even in the world. Like, um, Nigeria is an up and coming country, and I mean, I in my job I work with Nigerian students and speak with them, and they're extremely motivated students, and um, I think Nigeria has something to show the world. And I mean, Lagos is well, not the capital of Nigeria. It's a really big, booming metropolitan area, which I could totally see represented in World Showcase Pavilion. But also, Nigeria is a big country, so there's a lot of different things they could show, and also bring that sub-Saharan African representation.
Their population is expected to overtake America's, I want to say, within the next decade or two.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And actually, I forgot to mention this earlier. I saw the other day that India overtook China as the most populous country in the
Oh
world.
wow.
Yeah, but I agree. I think Nigeria, that would be another one, like you said, up and coming. It'd be pretty cool to see what they have to offer for the World Showcase.
Yeah. No, I think it would be a really different and unique option in the World Showcase. That would be unlike anything anyone would be able to expect or even like imagine how an Imagineer would do a Nigeria showcase or pavilion.
They really want to like knock it out of the park, bring back Joe Road. Just let him do his masterpiece.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Animal Kingdom legend, one of our favorite Imagineers between the two of us.
Yes. I really wish they would close down Expedition Everest so they could let Joe Road fix the Yeti.
They
Bring
locked
him
him in
back.
Expedition Everest and don't come out until you fixed the Yeti.
Might be a little extreme, but you know what? That Yeti needs fixed.
Yeah.
Anyways, do you have anything else for the Nigerian pavilion?
No.
So next on my list, I know we talked about how we have too many European countries, but this is one that I actually think might be pretty cool and pretty scenic. Greece. That
Greece.
one, the architecture they could do for that area honestly might beat out some of the other pavilions. I think they could do it because, like, you've got the
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what those buildings that are on the coast that have the blue domes. Those would be cool.
Yeah. I
All the
can't remember what
different
they're called
ancient,
either, but that's exactly what I was thinking.
all the ancient Greek structures like the Parthenon and
Mhm.
all this other stuff. And I mean, the Greek food as well would be awesome. I
Yeah.
don't know if they do a Hercules ride. I think it'd be pretty cool.
But
That
that
one
would
I could see being I could see that being something like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, where it's like a trackless ride and it's just pure chaos.
yeah, right. Like just Hercules and his friends fighting mythical creatures and Hades minions.
Right, and like Hades is popping up here and there, and you're just constantly shuffling around everywhere. I think that
Yeah,
could be a pretty cool ride. But Greece is probably the it's got to be the one European country that I'm like, okay, I know Europe has a lot of countries in World Showcase, but this will be the one that I think would really
yeah.
knock it out of the park.
And it's a it's another one of the Mediterranean countries too, so it's got a bit more of that influence, and of course, and as you already have explained, its unique history, um, among ancient civilization. So
Probably,
it would be a fun one, but I don't see it.
I'm sure they'd like a little more representation than just a little scene in Spaceship Earth, even though that's an amazing ride. And it was Princess Diana's favorite ride.
Oh, fun fact.
They had a Diana door because that way she could go in and get past the lines because she loved riding it. So
Dang. Wish I had a porter door.
I know. I wish I had a Sam door at Space Mountain, but anyways,
We have to go in the standby line.
like commoners.
How dare they? Don't they know we have a podcast?
I don't think they do.
Yeah,
Someday.
a decade. All right. So yeah, my fourth country here, my last one is Peru. Bringing back, going all the way back to South America. Uh, this one has a very popular IP in The Emperor's New Groove. That's an established one.
I gotta jump in for just a second here. Perfect time for the Disney ride that has been in a meme for at least 10, 12, 13 years now. You're on a roller coaster and Yzma goes, pull the lever, Kronk. And she goes, wrong lever. And then you go, flying.
Yeah, yeah.
That would be amazing. There would be a huge line for that if people knew that was a thing, a Peru roller coaster with the Emperor's New Groove.
Oh man,
Carry on. I just had to jump in there while that was.
oh, that would be sick. That would be such a great Epcot way to bring in IP. But yeah, no, I think this would be a really wonderful pavilion to have represented, and I think it would be insanely popular and highlight our friends in South America.
Oh, I agree. I think this is, if you were to go off of bringing in Disney IP, I say do Peru over Brazil just because that Emperor's New Groove ride.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Even if it's just a tower ride where you get to the top and Yzma says pull the lever, Kronk, and then they just drop you.
Kind of like the drop zone at Kings Island.
Yeah, exactly. Or a tower of terror that doesn't go up and down, just falls.
Just a straight up drop. Or what's the one at Cedar Point? You know what I'm talking about? That like goes up and then just comes right back down. It's got like a super tall drop.
I think it was called the Power Tower. Is that what it's called?
No, let me look real quick.
And there's the Doctor Doom one in Universal Studios Orlando too.
Oh, okay. Top Thrill Dragster.
Oh, the Top Thrill Dragster.
Yeah.
Zoom. Yeah, I think they just revamped that one too.
Wow. Okay, now it's called Top Thrill too.
Top Thrill too. Yeah. Any theme park enthusiasts, Cedar Point is worth the trip if you are in Sandusky, Ohio.
Been to Sandusky, never been to Cedar Point.
You've never been to Cedar Point?
No.
Oh, sir, we got to correct. No, well, you're not a huge fan of roller coasters, though, are you?
I, I I enjoy them just as long as there's not a lot of like spinning and such.
Right, the motions. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it if you don't like roller coasters, however.
So that's more like roller coaster focused.
Yeah, yeah. The only reason I would go to Cedar Point is to ride the roller coaster.
Anyways, do you
All
have anything
right,
else for?
that's it for Peru. Anything, unless you have anything else.
I have one more country on my list here. And that is one that I think it would be pretty cool to see is New Zealand. A lot of culture there. It's a very scenic country where they film a lot of stuff. I don't think there is any chance of this happening. But imagine if Lord of the Rings made its way somehow into Disney through the New Zealand pavilion. Doubt it would happen. Probably no shot of it happening.
Yeah,
But just imagine. We
we're
were
just
talking about
speculating.
John Lennon earlier. Just imagine.
Yeah, imagine all the pavilions.
No, but the New Zealand pavilion, I think they could do a lot with like I said, like it's really known for its scenery and everything. Like that's something that they could utilize across the land. But I think that I was mainly thinking about Lord of the Rings when I
Yeah,
saw.
that's what I was about to say. Disney about to buy Lord of the Rings IP.
I mean, maybe, but like I could see that being huge in the gift shop, kind of like how, there's various anime across the Japanese and Chinese shops as well, like IP you wouldn't expect to see in Disney. That could happen with New Zealand as well.
Good.
It would be interesting if they had wildlife here because I know Kiwis are native to New Zealand,
Oh
and
yeah,
that
yeah.
would be interesting with Australia as well because there's no Australian animals in Animal Kingdom either. And
Right, right.
people talked about like what if you brought in koalas? What if you brought in kangaroos? It would be interesting, but animals that are native to New Zealand, the kiwi is the only one that comes to mind, but I know there's more. That would be interesting to see in this World Showcase Pavilion.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So other than all the Lord of the Rings stuff I keep thinking about, and if that were to be a ride, I think that would definitely be something like first thing that comes to mind is like a cross between like the Quidditch ride and Universal Studios or the Gringotts Escape ride.
Yeah, yeah.
Just something where like, the heroes are constantly with you, but it's like very fast
Oh,
paced and like everything's going on.
yeah. Oh,
So enough of that fantasy.
that would be an interest. Yeah, I would be interested to see how they would do a New Zealand pavilion. I would not know where to begin speculating about it. Outside of highlighting like indigenous culture in New Zealand. Uh,
Hmm.
with all respect to their traditions, I think that could be another unique thing to show in addition to the wildlife.
Oh, definitely. And Lord of the Rings, I'm just trying to bring that audience in.
Yeah,
So
plus
that's all the countries that we have on our list here. Here is my question for you, Instagram. What do you think, or what would you like to see as the next country at World Showcase? Was it something that we speculated, something that was once considered, or a country that we haven't talked about at all? I'll post a story about it here soon. Let me know what you think. I'd be curious to hear if people want to see one of these pavilions or if they want to see something different. Just for reference, the countries that we speculated: Brazil, Egypt, Greece, India, Kenya, New Zealand, Nigeria, and Peru. Countries that were once considered by Disney: Australia, Costa Rica, Denmark, Equatorial Africa, Iran, Israel, Russia, Spain, Switzerland, the Philippines, UAE, and Venezuela. Let us know what you think, Instagram. Well, this has been a fun episode talking about World Showcase, an area that every Disney adult loves. By the way, I am all for trying all the alcohol in this region. I can't believe we went through an entire episode about World Showcase and didn't talk about the alcohol.
oh my gosh. Oh well,
But
of course, any of these new additions to the World Showcase would need to have a strong alcohol,
definitely.
and yet another place that drinking around the world would have to add.
It's
So
just
it's yet another drink added to that challenge.
it's going to get a lot harder. maybe Disney's going to add more countries, so drinking around the world is impossible, so people won't do it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to be at least 6'6" and over 215 pounds in order to participate in the drinking around the world challenge.
You're going to have to condition like Rocky. Just the montage while you're down in whatever it is you're going to drink. That would be something.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a fun episode. We will talk to y'all next time on
Let's do it.
Speculating Disney Parks.